welcome to the latest edition of the Talkie Taka podcast, listeners. This is a special one. This is the time when we take off our helmets and raise our bats because this is the 50th episode of the Talkie Taka podcast. So, thank you very much for all your support and all your feedback to listeners, to everyone on the panel, everyone who's ever been on the panel, anyone who's ever cursed us online. And for an amateur podcast, it's not too bad, not too bad. We've had listeners from 50 plus countries tuning in at some point to listen and get actual information, actual analysis about all the football that's going on around the world without any biases, if I may say so. So, kicking off today's episode, we have Radhaji, Ab, and Ashwin on the panel today. Radhaji, how have you been? I think we had a bit of an anticlimax with all that chat about Liverpool and Man United and how it's going to end up this way and it's going to be carnage and this and that. You weren't there to counter the jinxes, and I guess that's finally told.
Hey Swag, yeah, it caught me by surprise with that episode 50 thing. I remember last week was 49, but I'd forgotten about it. Speak for yourself, man. Some of us are not amateur. Some of us are pretty professional at what we're doing. So, got the mic and everything. But, no, I mean, like, great to reach episode 50. That's a talking moment in itself, getting to episode 50. So, good shit. I didn't buy for 1 second all this hype around the United game. This just these guys and the rest of the world pretty much made it a scenario where unless Liverpool win final, it's a moral victory for United, right? So, yeah, good job by everybody on the United side of things. Very frustrated with our own performance. We'll get to that soon. But yeah, my talkie point was actually the Man City game. Another bit of drop points from Man City. It's insane. Now for the last 5 game weeks, they've had 3 draws and a win and a loss. They've scored 8, conceded 8. Is this really Man City that we're talking about? They're 12th in the or 13th in the form table, or no, 12th in the form table, just above Chelsea. So it's like everybody talks about how Chelsea are having a little bit of a rough patch. Man City are right there with Chelsea. So it's a pretty dastardly set of results for them. This one coming in the 95th minute at home, pin drop silence at the Etihad, as they must be used to by now. So yeah, no, things are not looking great for them. Don't catch me feeling sorry for them. I mean, let this go on for as long as it can.
Yeah, and it was really nice seeing Roy Hodgson looking at Pep Guardiola and laughing when he got the penalty. Finally, you're about to go down, son. And yeah, let's see. But I would just like to correct you. Chelsea are not going through a rough patch. A rough patch happens for like a month or so. Chelsea are going through the rough itself because it's been over a year. Talking of Chelsea, how have you been and what's your talkie point?
Normally this things like this shouldn't be a talkie point, but we have won 2 games in a row now. So that's
Boom,
that's
jinxed it.
that's nah. I realized a while ago that I don't have such powers, so I can talk freely and openly. We won 2 in a row now, and the next 3 games are against Wolves, Palace, and Luton. Now I've properly put my foot in there. Let's see what happens. But I think anything less than 9 points from those three. Uh, But anyway, coming back to the talking moment, 2 wins in a row. It's a bit of a surprise for everyone, but it's good to get those under the belt.
Yeah, and winning against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup as well. For all the falteringness of the season, we're in the semi-finals of a cup, so we take what we're given. And finally, Ashwin, how have you been? What's your talkie point?
Yeah, been great. Episode 50, fam. We are finally well. Episode 50. What a time to what a time to live in, right? So we have lasted so many managers as well in the time that we have been doing our podcast. And the latest to be sacked was Mr. Cooper at Forest, and I know that Nuno is back. We have covered the World Cup. We have covered Champions League games. We have covered Europa League games. We have heard Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea fans vying. We have seen some Arsenal fans come into the pod as well. So it's been great, and long may our success continue. For me, the talkie point of the week is Mary Ubbs winning the Sports Personality award from BBC. Take that, Joey Barton. Take that, Piers Morgan. I think very well deserved award for the Man United and England number one after the season she had with the three Lionesses last year. Um, and yeah, nothing much from the Liverpool Man United game. I think if anything, it was a surprise that it was a 0-0. So nothing to talk about there. But yeah, kudos to Mary.
Yeah, and it's not just an award from the BBC. Whenever her shirts go on sale, they get sold out within 5-10 minutes. So it's proof that she and women's football is here to stay. And finally, my own talkie point, I think I wanted to talk about the Luton Bournemouth game, not scenes which anyone wants to see with Tom Lockyer going down with a cardiac arrest, as confirmed later by Luton. But thankfully, he was resuscitated and he's in hospital. He's recovering. I wanted to talk about Rob Edwards' leadership. He ran onto the pitch and made sure that everyone gave space to Lockyer for the medics to be able to work on him. Marshaled his team, proper man management and leadership, took them back in and calmed things down. You could see tears in his eyes when they came back and they were applauding all the supporters from both the clubs. And also the Bournemouth players around Lockyer. I think Philip Billing was the first one to take a look at him, and he immediately signaled to the benches to bring on the medics, and probably that was crucial. So yeah, not scenes that anyone wants to see, but hopefully, at least from his health perspective, hopefully he should be okay. Right. So Ashwin said that there's not much to talk about in the Liverpool United game. So shall we just brush it under the carpet and forget that that ever happened and,
It's
and move
done. It's
swiftly on?
done.
I
It's
know
done.
I will.
Move on. Move on.
I will definitely look to brush it under the carpet as much as possible. But just quickly, Swag, before we move on,
Hey guys, hope you guys are doing good. So I'm tuning in to send my thoughts on the Anfield game, Liverpool versus Man United. A lot of questions from United fans going into the game. In the last podcast, we were talking about whether Ten Hag still retains the support of the dressing room or not, and also one of the highest scoring teams in the division facing off against the one of the teams in the division who have conceded the highest number of shots. So uh, United fans did have a lot of worries going into the game about another drubbing. We got a few answers to some of the questions. So for one, pretty good performance defensively from United. They showed the work ethic uh, and the team effort in defending the goal. Pretty compact shape, which showed that they were still, you know, willing to fight for the manager. So for me, as I said in the last podcast, that hasn't yet become an issue in the dressing room. I thought that they are still working hard for the manager, and they showed that. Good, some good performances defensively. I think Onana had a really good game, marshalling the backline. Varane had an excellent game. And hopefully ensuring that he continues to be in the team. Whenever he's fit. Evans also surprisingly good against the mismatch in pace that he was up against. Uh, we kind of frustrated Liverpool into taking shots from long range, not able to create, really good chances. I think apart from the Trent Alexander-Arnold one, but I think on the ball, United showed the huge gap that exists with the top teams. Of course, Liverpool, while not having a great game in possession, had a great game in pressing and off the ball, I thought. But while that was the case, United were still very poor, in possession. I think perhaps with the exception of Kobe Mainu, I think he is a special talent that United can look forward to with a real positive from the game following on from his start against Everton. But on the balance of play, I thought the best two chances of the game also belonged to United. One was the Garnacho attempt, which Alexander Arnold intercepted, and then the Hoylund chance, which I thought he should have scored from. So, which would have given us a slightly undeserved 3 points. But having said that, while we are not buzzing about the result at all, as Van Dijk seems to suggest, uh, we will definitely take a point. Probably the first team this season to take a point from Anfield. So it's again one more good base for United to start off from. But it's always important how we are going to go into the next game, because we could afford to be compact in this game, but in the game against West Ham and against Villa, we will need to chase goals much more actively, commit more people forward, and we have seen that when that happens, how vulnerable we are on the counter. So that will be something to look forward to. We have seen too many false dawns as United fans this season to get our hopes up. So every match important for United.
I think the widespread expectation was that Liverpool would roll Man United over. There were memes before the game that United are going to play with three defensive midfielders and five centre backs, and it'll be extremely defensive. And yet Liverpool, the battering ram of Salah, Nunez, and everyone, they'll just roll through and things will happen. But that didn't end up happening at all. And I would say United defended decently enough, but Liverpool severely underperformed in terms of their attacking output.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna just like put some of these things out there. It's an amazing point for United. Like, I think they would have taken a draw if you had given it to them before the game, and we would have felt like it was 2 points lost. So of course they come off better at the end of the day. What I will say is that along with Luton and perhaps Sheffield United, perhaps a few other games, it's one of the worst performances I've seen from Liverpool. The thing that really gets me is that I think United, I really didn't expect that kind of game for the first 65, 70 minutes. I always thought that United will have some kind of danger on the counter with Hoyland and maybe bringing on Rashford and stuff like that. Um, but the game was just it just, any form of threat was non-existent for the first 60, 70 minutes. And consider the fact that you're playing at home, the first game with the revised stadium capacity, another 7,000 fans in the stadium. You've had an entire week to rest. A lot of players have. For example, Salah, Van Dijk didn't travel midweek for the Europa League game, and it was so lackluster. Darwin was poor. Salah was poor. Soboslai has now had 5 to 6 poor games in the last 2 months. So a lot of our best players just didn't turn up, and there's no excuse for that. But at the same time, it was so bad that you can't really critique it or analyze it in any particular way. I thought that the fact that United just didn't even bother putting the backline under pressure would have just given them even more confidence to take risks. But I thought they were lazy, they were slow, they didn't really play the ball with any kind of intent. Played right into United's hands, and the two best chances of the game went to United eventually. So, if they had won the game, there would be absolutely no complaints from a Liverpool perspective that they didn't deserve to lose. So, the last 30 minutes, United created some good counter-attacking chances. Alisson had a good save. It could very easily have gone the other way. So, very poor game. Nothing to say from a tactical standpoint. I think it was just shite from all the players, barring Van Dijk and Alisson, who now seem to get a pass in every game because they're doing individually well. So nothing to say against any other player, though it was quite bad. Really missing Diogo Jota. I think that Diaz is really spent. He wasn't even able to beat Anthony once, I think, in the entire game. And it's a forward. Forget about the fullback. He wasn't able to beat the forward. So, yeah, not great. It would be nice to have some rotation in that front line. Ben Doak has just got another big injury now, so it's going to be tough. But if we play like that against Arsenal, we are going to get smacked. So yeah, here's hoping that Klopp gave them a rollicking, and maybe today when they play West Ham, we see a reaction, and then we have to be so much better against Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it is very rare that we've had a Liverpool United game and there's not many talky points, right? Because both Radha and I did not actually talk about the game at all. I think it was like a really poor game, definitely. I wasn't what I was expecting is United to have the low block. They did something very similar against Bayern as well. And then there was just one momentary lapse of concentration, and we conceded the goal. This thankfully did not happen in this particular game. I think aside from that, in general, I think I will only take positives from the game. I think Kobe Mainu had an absolutely blinder of a game for an 18-year-old, that too. I think Varane did really well as well. He kept the likes of Salah and Nunes at bay. Of course, I mean, listen, Liverpool were not that great, but they still had an XG of 2.7, which incidentally is not very far off from the XG that they had when they beat us 7-0. So they had an XG of 2.9 on the day. Um, uh, I think it would have been great if Hoyland had finished his chance, had Garnacho finished his chance, and I think it would have been a proper smash and grab if that had happened. But we have done that. Like John O'Shea, all those years ago, we had a equally poor game from an attack perspective, and we got away with the 3 points, and it could have been something of that sort. But fine, I'll take the 1 point. Like before the game, there wasn't a single United fan who would have said that, we'll get a draw. Everyone was expecting a spanking of some sorts. It did not happen, thankfully. Whether that is on account of Liverpool not turning up to the occasion, them being complacent, or a factor of, some defensive minded players at United turning up, it's fine. I'll take the point.
Yeah, so I'll go one further and say, Ashwin, that it was far more dominant of a, well, not dominant in the sense that they played well, but in terms of the balance of play of the game, it was far superior to the one that we won 7-0. In the sense that there was absolutely no there was no real danger. And if you remember that game, it was pretty neck and neck for 40 minutes. If it suddenly all just changed after 40 minutes, but that was a pretty close game until Gakpo cut in and scored that first goal. This was like a game that Liverpool have no excuse. Now the XG that you're talking about, I can literally count it down in my hands. There was a Van Dijk header of a corner. There was a Konate header of a corner that he should have. One of these should have been scored. There was a Gakpo header of a free kick or a corner, and then there was this one or two decent plays where Trent got the ball to cross 2-3 United players, and there was space. That's the thing. I really don't think United were that resolute from a defensive standpoint. Yes, centrally, yes, but there was still a lot of space to be had. And every time we tried to play the final pass, we played it such a shite pass. It was there, I think, to win. And I don't think United, if Liverpool had scored 1-0, I think we would have been very dissatisfied with United's performance. I think a lot of people would have been unhappy with the way that they set up and executed. But at the end of the day, they got the result, and that is what counts. Um, the other few chances I can think of, maybe two good plays in the entire game, but they had 30 shots. And if you have 30 shots, eventually XG will ramp up like some small bits at a time. I think the XG is like far flattering Liverpool in this game. It was absolute crap from them. So yeah, I mean, very pissed off with the performance, but that doesn't change the fact that we're still in a good place this season. If you look at the big picture, still can't complain too much. 1 point or whatever, 2 points off Arsenal, playing Arsenal next. Yeah, I mean, good position to be in.
Yeah, so I had a question, Ashwin. So you had decent bunch of players missing, uh, including one who was suspended because he picked up too many yellows. How did the absence of Bruno affect you? I mean, I did hear a lot of online armchair analysis where people said that him actually not being there probably worked better to their advantage in terms of team cohesion. What's your take on that?
I mean, depends on the game, right? Like, I think the one bad thing that you can expect from Bruno is that when things are not going his way, he will just whinge, right? He would give it out to the players. He would he would go for the stray tackles, and like his heart would not be in it really. He's a really bad loser. So from that respect, because we needed every player to be defending, be organized, in that respect it really helped. But let's not take away the fact that he's still our best creative source. So if we needed some sort of creativity, it would have come from Bruno at the end of the day. So I mean, I think it's a bit disrespectful for us to really say that, okay, oh, we great because Bruno was not there, we got the point. I think if Bruno was there, he would have. I mean, he would have had his poor moments, but also he is the club captain for a reason. Like he has that moment of magic in him as well. It is very likely that, if that chance had come to Bruno instead of Hoyland or even Garnacho, he might have just buried that. So I mean, I'm a bit balanced on this. I think with Bruno as well, if we were organized enough, we would have been okay with the point.
Yeah, I think no doubt. From a Liverpool perspective, we were happy not to have Bruno on the pitch because, and I think it played a large part of. Let's be fair. I don't like his whinging at all. I thought in the 7-0 game he was really like disgraceful at times. But at the end of the day, I think a large part of the reason why Liverpool had nothing to worry about for 70 minutes was the fact that Bruno was not on the pitch, because every single time we gave the ball away, and we did that a lot, United just returned the favor with aplomb. Like they would give it back in the next 3 seconds. That's how bad United were in possession. That's why I'm saying if we had won the game, we would be having a very different conversation about the way United played. Anthony defensively, I thought did a great job, but with the ball, oh my god! As a Liverpool fan, I got bored with how crap my team was, and I was just like looking at some of the play that the United attacking transitions was, and it was really bad. Like Bruno would have changed that, I think, and there was we gave the ball away so badly at times that Bruno could have made use of one of those chances and found something dangerous. So yeah, very happy he wasn't on the pitch. I don't buy this argument that him not being there played a part, and I don't. I think a large part of why it was a 0-0 was also about how crap Liverpool was, and if Bruno was on the pitch, maybe United would have been more dangerous on the counter attack as well. So yeah, no credence to that. But I forgot, Ashwin, you mentioned that there was no talkie moment. There actually was a talkie moment. That amazing red card. I can't believe I almost forgot it. Just incredible stuff. A double yellow card for double the same play. Dissent twice, and oh man, it's like nothing's
It's
happening in the game. Both teams are crap. Let Michael
it's like
Oliver step up and take.
let's come up with a talking moment. That is how Michael Oliver was, and it is so annoying because firstly, I've never seen that. I've never seen like a player get two yellow cards for dissent within 3 seconds. Like it happens sometimes. Like players are like, they shout at the referee and then maybe 15-20 seconds later they do something else. But like this was not even. This was like within 3 or 4 seconds of each other, right? And initially I was thinking whether he had already got a yellow card and that's why he's like, okay, giving the second yellow and then giving him the red. But then the commentator started talking, and it was just a really crappy moment, and it was just a moment conjured out of nowhere from Michael Oliver. And the worst thing, and something that got really pushed my buttons, was of course Mr. Dermot Gallagher comes in after the match, and he's trying to explain why he got the two yellows and how in the current set of rules that makes sense. And then the presenter is basically arguing with him, and he's like, oh well, Darwin Nunes did something very similar in the game, but he did not get the second yellow. And then D- Mr. Dermot Gallagher decides to, defends his own decision, and he makes all sorts of silly arguments. So this consistency or the lack of consistency is really getting on my nerves right now. Firstly, it was not a throw in for Liverpool. I think we established that, right? In the 91st minute, if you're not getting decisions in your favor, and then Liverpool have an option to potentially score because of that bad decision, of course you will show dissent, right? It's just crazy. It's just crazy how, these snowflakes referees can't take anything against them. And he ends up getting the second yellow. I don't know. It's beyond me now.
Yeah, thankfully it did not affect the result of the game because that was just nonsensical. It's almost, I mean, there is almost no surer way for the referee to make himself the center of attention rather than giving a decent yellow, let alone two, right? For me, this decent yellow itself is a little bit of a, because players keep expressing their frustration in different ways, but the minute you express it by slightly looking in the direction of the referee, you're going to get a card. right? And this guy picks up 2 cards also. Anyway, for me, there were only really 2 talking moments about this game itself. I thought the game was overall pretty drab, especially because I was sitting on a Sunday night waiting for a goal fest because I have no horse in this game or in this race. But one, of course, is the 2 yellow red card, and the other is the stuff that followed with Keane and Van Dijk. That was pretty fun. Where Van Dijk said that the only one team came to win it, they showed nothing, etc. And then Keane basically told him to sit down. He's only won one Premier League and whatnot. And that was
That was very Alan Hansen from Keen. Like very like boomer talk saying, "Hey, I won more than you. You please shut up and sit down."
Or
No, but
or
Van
or
Dijk was
or,
clearly sour grapes.
or
Like
Jamie Carragher to Pep Guardiola.
to Pep Guardiola to Jamie Carragher is what you mean, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, that joke
Uh,
backfired. But
but
you know what I mean.
yeah, I mean, like, see, even like all the stuff I've said till now also was of a similar ilk to what Van Dijk said. Only I really felt like it was just one-way traffic for a lot. But as a player, probably you shouldn't be saying the things that somebody on the 50th episode of a podcast can be saying. But yeah, I mean, it's Keane was also a little over the top, I felt, but a little nice clickbaity moment for Sky, which I know they love. But yeah, just going back to that refereeing thing, I can't I can't take this anymore. Like, see, even I think you mentioned rightly, Ashwin, that the whole Nunes thing, he got a yellow, maybe clapped to the referee or something like that, and I've seen those given before. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Ronaldo or
Wayne
maybe it
Rooney.
was Rooney. Yeah,
Wayne
so
Rooney.
Rooney.
I've seen those given. So, and then in the same game later that night, Dallo. That is pretty ridiculous. I can't take it anymore now.
Yeah, so just before we move on, I think from next season onwards, VAR is going to be invoked to check if it's single descent or double descent and what the time difference between the first shout or the second shout is. So be prepared for more VAR chat on even sillier things next season. But yeah, going forward, Arsenal are top of the league. City, as Radha said, and City have dropped points. That's 5 points gap now, and this time round, unlike last season, Arsenal have actually played City. So, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Can someone else actually win the title this time round, or are City going to come back after this Club World Cup holiday and again put that run together, which they usually do? Or is it finally Arsenal's time to shine, or maybe even someone else? Liverpool.
Yeah, I said, of course, on the group chat that having seen the Liverpool United game and how drab Liverpool are or were in that game anyway, that this is the best chance Arsenal have, and they should be very disappointed if they don't win the title this year. That said, of course, you can never rule City out. Of course, they are currently in Saudi Arabia with the Club World Cup, and I think they won their first match pretty comfortably there. But the interesting thing to note from that trip is that one Mr. De Bruyne has been pictured back in training, and I think he should be involved. And today, of course, there's also pictures of Haaland training properly with the team. He was out, I know, for a couple of games as well. I think we've seen them go on these runs, so we just can never rule them out. And with De Bruyne coming back, it should hopefully ease off that creative burden that Bernardo has been feeling, and we can expect them to put a run together. And then I think they'll just be counting on, Arsenal and Liverpool uh, and maybe even Villa basically taking points off of each other. I think that's City's best chance, but um, you just can't rule them out. With even if they're 10 points behind with 10, 12 games left to play, I think they can still go on and win the game, win the title.
Yeah, yeah. So I think in terms of the Palace City game, Palace have traditionally caused a bit of trouble for City, right? So I won't go to the extent of calling them their bogey team, but like they have caused a few troubles, not just to City, even we remember the Istanbul game as well, right? So even to Liverpool. So they have a knack of doing that. I think this particular game specifically, City should have had it wrapped much before. They scored their second goal. I think what was it? In the 54th minute, Rico Lewis, really good goal, and then Mateta comes in and it's 2-1, and then calamity strikes pretty much. They were literally dominated Crystal Palace for the best part of the game, and then Palace just took their chances, and that is something that City have not been doing really well. They used to get a lot of these professional results, right, or professional performances in, and that's how they'll go on these immaculate runs of 10 games, 12 games, and that would help close the gap and potentially give them the lead in the title race as well. That hasn't been happening to the same extent this time around. Um, they've had a lot of injuries. Obviously, let's not forget Kevin De Bruyne has been out for the best part of the season. Haaland hasn't been there fit and running every game. So he's currently injured. He might be back, but he's currently injured. They are missing some key players who did win them the title last time out. So Gundogan is no more there. Mahrez is no more there. So that would obviously have an impact on how the team performs and how title ready or how dominant they are. But I think this is a game where just City just threw away the points. They should have definitely won and got the 3 points in.
Okay.
Yeah, just like quickly on City, though, I know that they'll end up scoring more goals and therefore see out games, and that'll help them. But defensively, they're still quite questionable. I think Spurs showed that as well. Arsenal showed that. It well, Palace also showed that. If you forget about the penalty, but if you look at the first goal, he just it's an easy run down the wing, cross into the box, gets in front of the center back and scores a goal. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff. And when are we going to, or does that not happen with City because everybody is so expensive and costs so much money? But when are we going to actually start looking at Josco Guardiola and say, what exactly is the big deal with this guy, man? Like, out of curiosity, I just wanted to see what his profile looked like on Who Scored, and Who Scored lists out his weaknesses as aerial challenges and tackling. I mean, that's a little weird for 100 million center back to have weaknesses on aerial challenges and tackling, and he's been pretty ordinary. I would say nothing to write home about this season. So when are we going to actually start asking questions of some of the players that they're signing as well? Like, they've lost a lot of good players. They've lost Zinchenko in that position, who now seems to be doing a great job for Arsenal. Uh, Perhaps there's some mistakes being made at Man City as well. I don't know. They don't look defensively solid, that's for sure. And if Rodri is missing, then forget about it. They look like a team that can be very easily got at. So yeah, they're that dependent on Rodri, like they were that dependent on Fernandinho for a decade. So yeah, little bit of balance issues in the squad as well.
Yeah, just on the Guardiola point, um, see, I think the reason why you don't see, of course, as much scrutiny on 100 million pounds that City spend on a player is also because I think one, of course, is they win despite, even if they have a bad signing or two, they're collectively so strong that they go out and win titles and trebles and whatnot. The other element also is, I think, even if a player has a poor first half of a season, you'll see them sort of coming good eventually in Pep and his system. Of course, again, just very last sort of silver lining, I think, for Guardiola also is that he's been playing left back and not left center back, which is his preferred or his strength position. Um, so, so I think they're still out on jury's still out on Guardiola, but I mean, I'm with you if you're making the point that there should be further scrutiny on some of these. I'm totally with you there. Uh, because other clubs spend 30 and 40 million and those players get scrutinized like crazy 10 months into or 8 months or 6 months into their tenure. So
Okay. And Arsenal's title challenge, how do you think this is coming along? They seem to be going pretty well. They're pulling off the late wins that they were doing last season as well. But Rice has become an integral part of the team pretty neatly. I mean, he fits very well. I think he's probably scoring more than he was at West Ham, but then he probably has a stronger bunch of players around him, which allows him to do that. And despite all the struggles of Jesus not being fit, etc., scoring goals doesn't seem to be that big of an issue. You would say that there have been periods where Saka's been off the boil. Martinelli has not had the same season as last time around, but it doesn't seem to be stopping them overall as a collective.
I see. I think this was a tricky game on paper. This was a game that a lot of, I think RK and me have been talking on the pod about how Arsenal are not looking as good as they did last season, but obviously they're still there or thereabouts. I expected them to find this game hard. I thought they were comfortable in that game. Yeah, it took them a while to score. It did maybe draw some amount of tension among the fans and all that, but it was a um, proper performance, I would say, against a tough team in Brighton. And when the second goal went in, it was totally deserved. So this was not the day where Arsenal was there to be doubted. I thought they played really well against a challenging team, knowing that Liverpool and Manchester United were going to be playing later that day or later that weekend. So they are under pressure when Man City drop points and Liverpool have a tough game. Definitely, that is pressure, and I thought they responded to that really well. And good job by Arsenal. What I'm not very sure or certain about even now is to write Man City off. If on my voice note last week as well, I did mention that Arsenal are a better team than Liverpool, so I think that they should get over the line versus Liverpool. But I can never write City off. Like Ab said, the cavalry is coming. So let's see. I don't think they're out of City's reach yet. So it's going to be a challenging second half of the season to keep City at bay.
Yeah, so we were talking about bogey teams earlier, right? Brighton are one of Arsenal's bogey teams, and they rose to the occasion really well. They, as an Arsenal, rose to the occasion quite well, I felt. It was 2-0 at the end of the day, but it could have been much more. Arsenal clearly dominated Brighton in terms of chances, not in terms of possession. But they had like 25 shots, 26 shots actually to Brighton's 6, and 9 shots on target to Brighton's 1. I think it was a very comprehensive performance. It is one of those professional performances, like I said, that City could have had against Palace, which Arsenal ended up having against Brighton. I think next week is the game at Anfield. I think, yeah. So they're playing Liverpool next week, right? So that would be the real litmus test, because these are two teams going for the title, and it is definitely, I won't call it a title decider, but at least it will give them the that confidence to go all the way, at least, right? I think Arsenal are definitely doing all the right things. They made some really incredible signings, including Kai Havertz, which I know is Up's favorite player. But yeah, he's coming up with the goods as well, right? So things are looking quite rosy for Arsenal at this point.
Yeah, and I think Havertz has already outperformed himself from last season. So, um, I mean, kudos to him. He's probably fitting better at Arsenal. But anyway, what's
That
definitely
was
not.
that was not
Unlike
a very healthy. Yeah, that was not a very healthy kudos. The expression on Swag's face was nothing like nothing to do with kudos. But yeah, I think it's just a matter
Kudos.
of time until Mason Mount puts that expression back on Swag's face.
Yeah, we'll see when he comes back from his injury. But yeah, something that's definitely not working well is my fantasy team. I think I've dropped to 11th now. Even Ashwin's dropped a couple of points this week. I think my Haaland obsession of continuing to keep him in the team and keeping him captain has bitten me really, really badly. I put Alvarez as the vice captain. He got 2 points. I was thinking of doing that to Watkins, who ended up getting 9. I didn't do that. Sucks. I think Radhaji, you can unretire and I can take the retired spot because this is definitely not working out.
But wait, there's more. I used my wild card this week, and one of my wild carded in strikers got a red card and gave me -2. So please, I'm very much still in retirement.
I think I think it was one of those weeks, right? Like I was very confident that United will get mauled and like Salah would score double digits at least. I ended up captaining Salah. At least I
Wait,
got the
what is Salah will score double digits at least? What were you expecting? Salah will score 100 goals in one game or what?
double digit in terms of points swag. You should
Oh,
retire. um, yeah, so so I thought like Salah would score, give me good returns. That clearly didn't happen. At least he got the clean sheet, which is good. Yeah, it was just one of those weeks that
It's slim pickings when we're talking about Mo Salah's clean sheet.
exactly. But yeah, I think it's just one of those weeks that you'll have to probably write off. Next game week is looking very tricky as well with, Arsenal, Liverpool, and you really don't know whether how these games kind of end. I think the standout fixture next are mostly for Aston Villa. So Ollie Watkins, if you don't have him in your squad, he has to be in there. And Solanke as well is looking like a really good pick if again he is not in your team. And maybe the Chelsea boys will not agree with me, but Palmer is also looking like a good shout. So with the fixtures that Chelsea have, I think if you don't have Cole Palmer, now is the time to get him.
I would say it's probably also time to start thinking about AFCON and
Yeah,
the Asian Cup. Mitoma will probably go there as well, and we already know that Mbuemo is going to be. I mean, he's obviously injured, so he's gone for 3 months,
and
but
Son.
he was expected to be out. Son will go as well if it ends up being a Korea Japan final. Imagine no Mitoma and no Son. Quite a lot of people would have them in their teams. So start thinking about that as well.
I forgetting the Egyptian king there.
Yep. So that was one. I brought him into my team and got Haaland out. Well, I just thought it'll be a couple of weeks of Salah before he moves on. So, yeah, he's going to be off soon. So, yeah, that's going to be a bit of a challenge for fantasy. But I think maybe we should start looking at draft instead, perhaps. Having a slightly better time in the draft, though I'm still 1 point behind the leader. But yeah, draft is looking good.
Yeah, for draft, I have three strikers. None of them played a single minute. Between the three of them, I had 0 minutes played, let alone points. So I actually had my game against you, Radhaji. So yeah, I when that happened, I knew this wasn't going to end well. Even though they've still kept the game week open because of the Bournemouth Luton thing, it's obviously going to end up with you winning that thing. But
I was
yeah,
wondering about that. So then I should technically then move to the top of the table then at the end of this game week.
Depends on how Pratikshya has done in his game, but yeah, you're definitely winning against me. I just hope that by the time the next game week comes around, some of these strikers are back. Otherwise, draft is looking like a lost cause as well. No title defense this time around. Okay, then coming to the European draws, we had the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League draws earlier this week. Any thoughts? Do Man City have an easy draw? I mean, someone said online the irony of Manchester United fans saying that Man City have got an easy draw when the same team kicked them out of the competition is hilarious. But yeah, you would still think that when it's Man City versus Copenhagen, there is a difference between Man City and Man United right now as well. So that should be easy pickings for Haaland and Co. Inter Atletico caught my eye. I think that's probably the most open game from the Champions League perspective. After that, it's probably Napoli, Barcelona, I would say.
Yeah, those are the only two swag. I think it's a pretty shit set of fixtures, if you ask me. I know Arun, who's our resident Arsenal fan, will try and make it look like Porto Arsenal is a huge deal. It's really not. Nobody gives a shit about Porto Arsenal. Inter Atletico, and we're clutching here. Like, honestly, you don't want to watch a Simeone team play. If you stay up till 1:30 a.m. and watch Simeone team play, is definitely not very exciting. But yeah, probably Barcelona Napoli should be fun. That's the only thing. But yeah, compared to some of the group stages, I think it's a pretty underwhelming UCL draw.
Yeah, but I would argue that I think Atletico this season have been slightly more, how do you say this, adventurous. So might not be as dull as dishwater as their games usually are. But I would also say that PSG Real Sociedad might be interesting, depending on how PSG are looking when these games actually come around, because we're trying to predict these games in December when it's going to be uh, March when these games actually come up.
I think I would say the Napoli Barcelona one is for me is one of the more standout fixtures. It might be the case that we might not see Xavi Hernandez at the helm by that time with the way the season is going for him. We might not even see Victor Osimhen. He might go to Chelsea or some other club for all you know. So it could look like a very different Napoli versus Barcelona when Feb 14 comes in. Um, I think the Real Sociedad and PSG game would be interesting as well. Sociedad, I think, have conceded only 2 goals or some ridiculous amount of number of goals that they have conceded in the league. So that could be an interesting one as well. Um, and yeah, apart from that, all the other fixtures look pretty straightforward to me. I think City will definitely win. The- you know, they'll come to Manchester and they will probably realize that there is one team in Manchester which clearly knows how to play football at this point in time. So yeah, City definitely going through. Arsenal going through also easily, I feel. And Dortmund also have a good draw, I feel. So I think these are the three short teams that I feel will be through.
I think what I I agree, it's not as open a draw as it usually has been in the recent past, but what that can actually give us is a blockbuster final eight, where you have no weak teams, if you can say so, and then that would be really fun to check out when that draw gets made. Because I think even for the other English teams in the European competition, such as Liverpool and West Ham, etc., we're waiting for the qualifying knockout rounds to happen, and then these teams come into the equation. Because we'll find out more in Feb, I guess. But yeah, moving on. You mentioned 2 games won in a row. Chelsea beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup on penalties yesterday night. That was fun. And considering the impact Trippier had on the game in the final few minutes, including letting in that goal as well as missing the penalty, he must not be enjoying life right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are some Newcastle fans calling for Trippier to be investigated alongside Tonali because he had a horrendous um, 15-20 minutes. Came in there to defend the 1-0 lead. In fact, I think he came on at halftime. So yeah, so he came in to help defend the 1-0 lead, and then he was doing okay, but then ends up giving a pretty easy chance to Mudrik, and Mudrik put it away. So it's a good finish. And then, of course, conveniently also ended up missing a penalty for against us. So that was good. I watched the game, and for a long time, for a lot of the game, I was uh, thinking if it was a good idea to stay up until so late to watch this kind of a game. 1-0 down for a long time, and we never, ever, ever, ever come back uh, from goals down and win games. It's just not something that we have shown as a part of our character. But the team actually stood up when they had the chance. They took it, and the penalties were fantastic. Petrovic was pretty good, made a good save, and It was it was an extremely vital thing. We are winning the Carabao Cup is the only way Chelsea sees any kind of European football next season. So it's a huge tournament for us. Of course, we'll still have to get past either a two of Fulham, Middlesbrough, Liverpool, or West Ham to do that. And I'm really hoping West Ham can do us a favor and beat Liverpool tonight. But huge game, huge game. Of course, I said that we won 2 in a row. We also beat Sheffield over the weekend, and I'm I'm really, really, really glad the three promoted teams are pretty shite. Because that's the only way we get any kind of confidence and have some victories under our belt. I feel like the only assured victories seem to be against the three promoted teams. Again, both these games, Cole Palmer was a standout player. 1 goal and 1 assist, I think, in the Sheffield game, and of course, also vital yesterday. He has of course, many areas in his game that he needs to improve. He's like 19, and he will. And I wish we weren't so reliant on him, but that's just the way it is now. But the biggest news, of course, was that we saw 8-9 minutes from Christopher Nkunku yesterday. Also scored a penalty, which was good. He didn't get to do much in the game, playing against an extremely low block. But I'm looking forward to seeing him now more and more. Hopefully, we can bench some of these other guys. I know you guys spoke of the AFCON and how Salah is going. You also did a great disservice to Nicholas Jackson, who's also going to the AFCON. You have your Salahs, we have our Nico Jacksons, and we're going to miss him. But perfect time for Nkunku to come to some kind of fitness. Now it's a matter of form. But yeah, I said we have 3 games against Luton, Palace, and Wolves, not necessarily in that order. But man, we have to get 9 points out of that. If we get 9 points out of that going into the new year, then you know there'll be a bit of wind in our sails. But I've wished for these things before, and we know how that goes.
Yeah, particularly in the last year or so, I think the fact that we've won these games in a row by itself is now feels like a surprise. I mean, listening to the Chelsea podcast as well, it's like, are we actually talking about wins 2 episodes in a row? It's odd, but yeah. Let's see. Christopher Nkunku coming back was good. Well, at least he was present right next to Modric, so that he could be photographed celebrating with him, announcing his arrival in blue. But yeah, we'll see. And I'm hoping not just that West Ham do us a favor, but also that they stay away from us in the semi-final draw, because over 90
हाँ
minutes we can
सब
probably beat them.
सब कुछ ले लो
हाँ,
बेस्ट
तो कुछ और कोई तरीका नहीं है ना, so we have to rely on something like this to
Why?
do
Yeah, yeah.
anything right
Just,
now.
just forfeit. Just ask other teams to
हाँ just
forfeit.
West
Get
Ham West
hand
Ham
over,
you go beat
hand over the cup to bring the club to West. Sorry, the cup to West London, and yeah, we're fine. Pochettino retains the job also.
Yeah,
just West Ham go beat Liverpool. After that, get out, go somewhere,
go to
cancel
Fulham.
season.
Yeah,
Very
we'll
good.
play.
I
We'll
think
play
it's
But
with
only
more.
fair that Liverpool give this up for us because they're anyway going to win the Europa League. So
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's
I,
how it works out.
I,
No,
I
so
think clear
I just want to
favorites.
address one. I just want to address one thing that Ashwin said, that Chelsea might sign Osimhen. I'm thinking that for somebody like Osimhen and all, I think we're entering into territory where Chelsea need to start pulling some levers to make shit like that happen. I don't know how much more 100 million, like I don't see how that can continue to happen given the reality of where they're going to finish this season and stuff like that. So yeah, they definitely do need somebody to score goals, but Osimhen, the likes of him, I think will be out of reach.
Yeah, and
yeah,
they can't even do the 50-year contracts anymore because the Premier League changed the rules, right? So that option is also
And
not available.
well, Chelsea did vote in favor of abolishing that. So Chelsea
Not
was like, we
retrospectively though, right?
yeah,
Wink,
we
wink.
wink wink. We've already done what we needed to do. Now no
Yeah.
one else should be able to do
Okay.
that. So yeah,
Okay.
ho gaya. Okay, so looking forward to this game week, which is coming up tomorrow, which Ashwin reminded me today morning. I had forgotten that it starts tomorrow itself. Liverpool Arsenal is part of this game week, but I also want to talk about Liverpool, not just Liverpool Arsenal, but also Man United Aston Villa, because I'm not so sure that we'll be back in time just the day after Christmas. So these two games are something that I think we can look forward to in the next few days. What are your thoughts, Radhaji? You said that if you played like you did against United, you're losing this game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think Arsenal. See, we were very lucky that one on a day that we couldn't score a goal no matter what. We were lucky that we didn't have to worry about conceding a goal for a large part of the game. Arsenal is not that kind of team, as we've seen so many times this season and last. Even when they play crap, they can still pull it out of the bag. So they're not going to be playing crap or very often. Sorry, so it's a very difficult game anyway. I think given where we are right now, having three or four bad performances in a row, while we've been able to win maybe two or three of those, the performances have not been up to scratch. It's a bad time perhaps to go and play Arsenal this time. The only thing is, again, it is at home. Hopefully that makes more of a difference than it did against United. It's a critical game for us to not lose, I would say. I don't think a draw is the worst thing in the world, but definitely losing would really put some. I think a lot of Liverpool fans and Liverpool staff will be taking stock of where we are in the season if we lose to Arsenal at home. So yeah, I think it should be a draw, but I hope that we can turn it around and put in a good performance and actually win the game. After what we saw against United, it's the least that they can do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a good game from an execution point of view from us. If that's the most we can ask for now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it, I'm expecting some form of a reaction from Liverpool in that game. They you could definitely sense a bit of complacency in the United game. They, they were expecting to hammer United, which clearly did not happen. And then 0-0 is not the result they would be really proud of. Against Arsenal, they can definitely not afford to be the way they were against United. So I'm expecting that reaction. You spoke about the Aston Villa United game, but before that, I mean, we are going to take it one game at a time. I'm going to talk about the West Ham game as well. It's away from home. It's against a David Moyes side. West Ham are a funny team, right? Like they sometimes do really well, and sometimes they just uh, they're like one of the more beatable teams. We can't play the same way that we played against Liverpool against West Ham. I mean, a United team cannot go to West Ham and play like that. So it will be an interesting one, and especially with the likes of Gerard Bowen and Kudus and all those people, how they are turning up for West Ham lately. I would be surprised if United get any points against West Ham. And then we can start talking about the Aston Villa game. Um, I'm actually quite worried about United going into the fixture festive period.
I think that's a big game, the Villa one. I think West Ham is always a tricky one, but at the end of the day, United can and should beat West Ham. Villa, you never know. The first half that they played against Man City, Villa just made me sit up and take notice for sure. They really, I mean, they were running with the whole pressure of, hey, 13 wins at home and all of that. They were playing with that pressure and they absolutely delivered. Sorry, I'm talking about the Arsenal game, the first half against Arsenal. After they beat Man City, they were under a lot of pressure. They came out and absolutely delivered in that first half. So I can't really I can see them putting in a performance against United as well. West Ham, yeah, I think I agree with Ashwin. Though I will say that they are one of the form teams. So if you look at the last 5-6 games, West Ham are in the top five or top six in the league. Interestingly, Everton are second in the league in the last 5-6 games. So a lot of stuff has been happening in the form table. Arsenal are right up there, of course. United are mid-table there. United, Man City, Spurs, they're all having a little bit of a blip. So that way, West Ham technically is in good form. So it could be a tough game there as well. But I do think that United should beat West Ham.
Yeah. All right. We will see how this goes, and remember to change your FPL teams before tomorrow. Otherwise, you'll get locked in with Haaland as captain when his team isn't even playing. Like
Who's your
me.
vice
Uh,
captain?
Alvarez, same problem.
Hey, what happens if both captain and vice captain don't play?
Don't get the
Nothing.
points.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
You
goodness! I have
you
3
don't
Man
have a
City players in my
vice
squad,
captain,
man.
quarter captain.
Annoying.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what's wrong with Chelsea, right? We have Reece James as the captain, Ben Chilwell as the vice captain, then we have Conor Gallagher, then he gets red carded, then Levi Colwill is the captain, etc., etc. Anyway, I've done enough jinxing for Chelsea for this episode. So we will catch you with the results of this game week and maybe a few more the next time we meet, listeners. And again, thank you very much for listening, watching, wherever you've interacted with us over the past year and a half. Ooh, that's long. And thank you to everyone. Bye bye.